Hey guys, what is going on? Jurgen from ZurGrinoSports here, and today I'm coming at you with the April 5th, 2021 edition of Raw Review. Overall, Raw this week was kind of meh, better than last week's Raw, which was garbage. But before we get into the review, quickly, leave down what you guys thought of Raw down in the comments. Did you like it? Did you dislike it? And let me know down there in the comments. If you'd like to join the Discord server for the channel, link is in the description. At the end of the video, if you like the review, leave a like and subscribe. But without further ado, let's get into the review, which is going to be only partially all-encompassing on my account because I missed the first 15 or so minutes. So I missed the Drew and Bobby Lashley and Corbin promo that opened up the show. I did go back and watch the YouTube clip of it. I don't know how much of that got cut because the YouTube video was like 5 minutes. I don't know if that was video packages that got cut. I don't know if that was promo time that got cut. I don't know if that was, match graphics. I don't know how much of that 15 minutes got cut that I watched. Or sorry, that I missed, that I watched through the video. But based off of what they put on YouTube of the segment, very good promo. From Drew, where he talked about sacrifice. He talked about how, for 17 years he sacrificed everything. When his mom was battling with chemo, he wanted to fly back home, and she told him, hey, this is your dream. If you come back, I'm gonna kick your ass. So how he sacrificed everything. And then he kind of ends off his bit of the promo, an impassioned promo, by saying, Bobby, how do you expect to beat a man who's willing to sacrifice everything? So really strong promo from Drew from what was, again, posted on the YouTube clip. Bobby comes out and he's like, listen, Drew, I know where you're coming from. 17 years to get to the top took me 16, and you were a great champion. But it's my time. It's the almighty time now. And last week, when I looked in your eyes, I saw fear. And then when I put that hurt lock in, you quivered, you shook, and you went out. Drew then says, you didn't see fear. What you saw was me, losing consciousness. Or the hurt lock is no joke. But, 5 days away from MANIA. Well, we're both in fairly good shape. Why wait? Let's just do it now. Lash is like, oh, all right. Fucking, you think I won't? MVP kind of holds him off. He's like, hey, no, Mania, Drew. At Mania, you're going to lose your dignity, you're going to lose your consciousness, and more importantly, you're going to lose the match. Then Corbin comes out, says last week he started something that he's going to finish tonight. Face the facts, Drew. There's no WrestleMania for you. There's no WWE Championship for you. So, based again what they showed on the YouTube video, really liked Drew's part of the promo, really liked Lashley's part of the promo. In a lot of my videos over the years, whether it be my GM modes when I'm explaining my logic behind, how I book my own storylines in those series, or if it's just, a game where I'm playing the game and I'm commentating on something that happened in time, I've always liked when, even if you're a heel, you put over your opponent. Because there's certain types of characters that you can get away with being like, oh, see, you're a joke, and I'm going to beat you, and then you lose. But certain characters like Lashley's, if Lashley, who's dominant like that, says, oh, you're a joke, and then loses, it just makes Lashley look worse, right? And especially with Drew being built so strong over the last year, and Lashley being so strong, the fact that both of them are like, hey, you aren't a joke, you're a top guy, I'm better than you, and then the other guy being like, no, see, you're a top guy, but I'm better than you. It kind of gives you the whole, they're both top guys. They both know they're top guys. They both claim they're better. Let's see who's actually better, right? So I think that kind of vibe gets given off. In terms of Corbin being involved, I don't like it because he's a SmackDown guy. There were concerns last week from people that he may have joined the Hurt Business, and I think they confirmed that not to be the case. The fact that they keep, disbanding, they're following through with the disbanding of the Hurt Business sucks. Lashley in his promo also said, Drew saw what he did to Shelton last week, and if he sticks around, he can see what he does to Cedric tonight, which we have that match later on. I like the promos from Drew and Lashley, and then Corbin. So logically speaking, with what they did last week, a Drew and Corbin match this week makes sense. The fact that Corbin is there to begin with, being a SmackDown competitor, doesn't make sense, but based on what they did last week, Corbin getting involved and in his promo being like, hey, listen, I'm going to finish what I started last week kind of thing. Yeah, fine, that makes sense. But the fact that he's involved to begin with, I don't like because he's a SmackDown guy. I don't like crossing brands unless it's to build for an interpromotional brand or to build to an interpromotional brand, whether it be a, showcase match like Shawn Michaels and HBK. Those are the same people. Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle, at WrestleMania 21. Or, a brand invasion leading up to a SmackDown versus Raw Survivor Series match or something like that. In that circumstance, I'm okay with it. Other than that, you know what I mean? If there's no inter-brand match being played or being built to or whatever, I don't see the point. It just, undermines the point of the brand split, but it is what it is. There was I caught I think maybe the middle to ending part of the Kofi Woods and Riddle backstage thing in Gorilla where Riddle was talking about getting high in terms of elevation physically through Omos, but obviously, let's get high, dude, because he's a stoner. Yeah, the gimmick's old. It's been old for a while. He's the United States champion, by the way. Hopefully at Mania that changes. But we'll have to wait and see. Then we had Woods versus AJ. Very quickly into the match, Kofi gets on the mic, talks shit to Omos, and then yeets the mic right into Omos's chest, I guess. The mic kind of the box on the mic kind of fell off and broke and shit. And then Omos is like, what the fuck? He starts walking towards Kof. Kof gets in the ring. Then AJ's like, what the fuck are you doing? Kof gets out the ring. And then AJ's like, well, stay out of the ring. And he turns around into a roll-up, small package, whatever, from Woods. 1, 2, 3. 3 losses in a row for AJ to build up a fucking just not great tag match at Mania. I don't like this at all. So they built AJ up so strong throughout all of 2020. At least the bits I watched and I heard and I read that he didn't really lose throughout the whole pandemic, pretty much. At least in singles competition, one-on-one matches, whatever, right? So you have this guy who you protect and you build up to be a main event guy, and then you're like, okay, let's put him in a tag feud, which, you know what? Fair enough. It makes him a Grand Slam champion. I have no problems with AJ becoming a Grand Slam champion. I would have preferred if it was a 3-way. They didn't break up the Hurt Business, and it was Hurt Business defending against Woods and Kof and AJ and Omos, and then AJ and Omos can pin New Day to win the titles off Hurt Business if you want to do that, and then Hurt Business can win them back, or Hurt Business can win them back, or Hurt Business can win them back, and by that I mean Hurt Business wins them back, because Hurt Business should not have lost the tag titles to begin with, because the Hurt Business was fucking great, and Vince was like, oh, a good thing on my show? Ruin it. So, yeah. But anyways, I really don't like them giving AJ 3 one-on-one match losses in a row to build up a non-factor tag match. Not non-factor. What I'm trying to say is the result, as soon as the match was announced, the result was known. As soon as they announced AJ and Omos in Omos's debut match for the tag titles against New Day, you knew for a fact New Day were transitional champions. You know what I mean? You knew for a fact AJ's getting his Grand Slam. Omos is getting a debut title win. You knew for a fact when it was announced, them putting New Day over in singles matches 3 weeks in a row just pretty much solidifies that. Also, the match was 2 minutes long or some shit like that. It was a very short match, so I don't like that at all. I don't like that they built up AJ just to give him 3 losses like this to build up a fucking, a Mania match with no heat to it. You know what I mean? It's not great. It's not great. You know what I mean? If they wanted to fucking build it, you know what I mean? I would have rather if they just did a game night segment every week to go back and forth on AJ and Omos, whatever, Omos. I'm going to say both interchangeably. if they would have done, so we've had 3 weeks of build for this, and the 3 weeks of build have been AJ loses clean to Kof, AJ loses by DQ to Woods after game night, and then AJ loses clean to Woods. So, well, I mean, distraction, yeah, but fucking, you know what I mean. So it's just, if you were going to do the game night thing, right, just have 2 weeks of game night that go through with New Day winning both. And then on the third night of game night, in a backstage segment, not in the ring, just have Omos snap. AJ and Omos look strong going into the pay-per-view, win the titles. Nobody loses matches. You don't waste AJ's win streak since fucking the pandemic, pretty much, on 3 fucking meaningless losses to build this fucking tag match that nobody really cares about, if we're being honest. You know, so it's like, you could have put over somebody huge by giving them a win over AJ, you know what I mean? AJ, again, was built so strong in singles competition, you could have shot Ricochet up the card, because Ricochet looked very good in defeat to AJ in their first match leading up to the Rumble. You could have shot Gulak up the card. You could have shot Carrillo up the card. You could have shot Andrade up the card if they would have brought him back. Wow, but then they just kept him in fucking catering, even though he's one of the best in the goddamn world, so he asked for his release. You have so many guys on your roster that are so talented that you could immediately shoot up into the upper mid-card with a win against AJ. But guess what you did? You gave 3 wins to a group of 2 people who do not need those wins to be elevated, because they are a mainstay in the upper mid-card in general, and they are a mainstay at the top of the tag division. They don't need those singles wins against AJ, and I know you're trying to, hold off Omos until his debut in the ring at Mania and all that shit, but like, just do backstage segments to avoid giving 3 meaningless losses to AJ that could have been used better to actually put somebody over and propel them up the card. You're giving made men a big rub that they don't need. And it's not even a big rub because people don't care. If they would have, after Mania, right? If AJ has a singles match and they didn't have all this 3 shit right there, and let's say it's Gulak, right? And it's AJ versus Gulak, and then, oh shit, Gulak beats AJ. The casual fans are like, shit, I haven't seen AJ lose in how long? Wow, that's crazy. This Gulak guy is good. And then the perception of Gulak is, okay, he's really good. Right? Same could go for Ricochet. Same could go for Ali. I know Ali is a heel, so it's heel, but like, there's just so many people you could have propelled up the card who are so good, who belong up there in the card, who are in catering every week, but you gave it to people who don't need the win for a tag match that doesn't matter, that nobody cares for, that the result is already granted, and it's just a waste of losses for AJ, in my opinion, is what my big thing with this is, especially in like 2 minutes, man, or 3 minutes, or whatever the fuck it was. It was short, ridiculously short. Then we had a shot of Bad Bunny and Priest arriving in a $3.6 million Bugatti. Then we had a shot of Braun walking backstage. Then we go to commercial. Then we come back from commercial. Video package hyping Braun versus Shane plays. Then we have Braun cutting a promo in a cage where he says that he's been bullied his whole life, by guys like Shane McMahon, so he's fighting for everyone like him, kind of thing. Shane can't hide, he can't run in the cage, and when he's done ping-ponging his head around the cage and grating his face into the metal and all that stuff, the last thing he'll hear won't be "here comes the money," it'll be "here comes the body bag," because at WrestleMania you're going to get these hands. In terms of Braun trying to sell the fact that he's been bullied, not very believable. I'm not saying it's not true, but when you see a guy who could fucking kill you within seconds with no hesitation, who's almost 7 foot tall, who's a fucking meat castle of a man, who's just jacked, muscle, fucking tall as shit. He's a fucking athlete, so it's not like he's a tall guy who's out of shape who can't do shit. He literally fucking just throws people around for a living. It's hard to garner babyface sympathy for that kind of character in a, oh, why are you picking on me kind of gimmick. With that being said, Braun's delivery of the promo was very good, I felt. I'm one of the people who isn't the biggest fan of Braun in a main event role, and I'm not the biggest fan of Braun's promo work. However, I thought that this was one of his better promos like that I've heard him cut in a long time. And I think the reason that it was so good is because they let him near the end of it. The first part of it was kind of weak. It was like, oh man, Shane, you're bullying me for being big and tall and you think I'm stupid. It's like, brother, you could kill him in the cage if you wanted to, and nobody would be able to stop you because you just killed him too. Nobody's going to be like, oh, poor Braun. You know what I mean? It's just, it's not the right person to do that gimmick with. Or that storyline with, sorry. However, at the tail end of it, where he gets impassioned and he starts yelling and raising his voice and saying, hey, I'm going to ping pong your head around this cage. I'm going to fucking tear your face across this metal. You're going to leave in a body bag because I'm going to fucking beat your ass. That's when the promo gets good because it's a big murdering maniac looking dude saying, I'm going to kill you. It fits and the delivery was perfect. So the second half of the promo I thought was very good. And I'm, again, not a guy who's not really a big fan of Braun promos, and who's not really a big fan of Braun in the main event scene and the title scene, or whatever. So, yeah. I thought the promo was good. It was weird that they did it in the cage because he had a match next and the cage was up, so that was kind of weird. But anyway, Shane interrupts. He says, wow, dude, I really appear to have angered you. What did I do to you, Braun? When I gave you a choice to pick the match type, it was a test of your intellect. And, a cage match is not that stupid because on paper it favors you. And Braun, it would favor you if I was any other man, but I'm not any man. I'm a McMahon. I'm going to outwit you and I'm going to win. And then you're going to be left thinking, man, I am stupid. And then we have Riker and Elias. We go to commercial, we come back, and we've got Riker and Elias in a handicap versus Braun, where Riker and Elias don't have to tag. Fairly short match. Braun pins both for the win, and I'm like literally pins both. And then Shane watched the match from the stage. In terms of booking, in terms of the cowardly, manipulative heel, I guess, that Shane McMahon would be, using goons or cronies to try and take out Braun beforehand, and then being thwarted by the resilient Braun or whatever, or the disastrous Braun, or the, destructive Braun, whatever description you want to use of him, makes sense, right? It's something that Shane would do. It's something that Braun should win. He comfortably does. They did one-on-one up until then, right? They did Elias at the pay-per-view at Fastlane, then Elias rematch on Raw, then Riker, and then both of them. So in terms of progression, in terms of matches and making and giving Braun wins up until Mania, I think it makes sense. I don't like that the cage was down for the promo, but it was up for the match. Either have the cage down for both the match and the promo, or have it up for both the match and the promo. I don't like the 50-50 of that, because it's like, if you put the cage down just for the promo, why not leave it down for the match and have it a 2-on-1 handicap match in the cage as a preview of what you're going to show, what Strowman is going to do to Shane at the pay-per-view, right? The flip side of that is you're literally trying to get people to buy the show that has the cage match. Why would you give the exact same match on the go home on free TV? And then in counter argument to that, it's not the exact same match because it's a 2-on-1 and you don't have the person you want to see losing in the cage yet, but you get an example of what could happen to him. So if you pay for it, you could see what you want happen to him happen, because we saw that Braun can do it, right? Granted, it is just a cage to a cage. If you have like a cell match and you do a cage to prepare you for a cell, I guess that's fine, I think, because it's a different match, but it's a similar type of match kind of thing. You know what I mean? But yeah, so if they were going to have the cage down for the promo, leave the cage down for the match. If you weren't going to have the cage down for the match, don't have it for the promo. You know what I mean? In my opinion. But other than that, I thought it was fine overall. You know what I mean? The whole angle being based around Shane bullying Braun by calling him stupid and stuff, it still stinks. But I mean, like I said, the tail end, the second half of Braun's promo, I really enjoyed. Shane's promo was fine, and it made sense for what his character would be saying. The match that happened made sense. The only thing that didn't make sense was the cage being set up for the promo and then having being lifted into the sky and not being set up for the, you know what I mean? But other than that, I thought it was fine. Then we have a Miz and Morrison backstage interview where they are asked why they have paint cans. They say they are artistes and they must be excused because they have a masterpiece to create. Then they paint all over Bad Bunny's $3.6 million Bugatti. They paint hey hey hop hop, bunny logos, their signatures, finger painting, stuff like that. Low key, if you sell that at an auction or something, that probably adds value to the car in a way because it's a novelty item now because it was on a wrestling show. Plus, apparently Bad Bunny hated that car because he couldn't drive it in his home country, Puerto Rico, because of like fucking fees and shit to bring it over and insurance and all that shit. And then he can't drive it in the States because everybody recognizes him and knows it's him, so he doesn't have privacy. So apparently he didn't really like the car. Even though he didn't like the car, I still think it's great that he would be willing to give up a $3.6 million car to build up the storyline. I think it really shows how much he respects and cares for the business. So I think that's pretty admirable. I think we went to commercial after that, and then we came back with Bad Bunny kind of pissed off, I guess, trying to find the car to see if it was true. Then he finds it, and while he's like, shit, reacting to the car, Miz and Morrison ambush him, beat him down a bit. Miz grabs him by the hair and is like, I don't respect you. I don't respect blah, blah, blah. And this is what you get for coming here. You don't belong here kind of thing. Adam Pearce and the agents, call them off. Priest arrives and he's like, yo, ¿qué pasó? What happened, brother? Medic comes down after they were called down, and then they tend to Bad Bunny. It's kind of funny that Pierce was more energetic about saving Bad Bunny than he has been about any wrestler ever. But at the same time, a wrestler's a wrestler. Bad Bunny's not a wrestler. He's a celebrity. I think within kayfabe, that'd be grounds to sue. Like, obviously, it's not going to happen. It's part of the storyline. He agreed to it. I know all that. But, like, from a kayfabe perspective, if I was in a management position for a company that had combat sport. So, like, imagine if the UFC got, like, fucking Bad Bunny. Let's say just Bad Bunny. There we go. Let's say the UFC got Bad Bunny to perform in the ring. And then fucking Conor McGregor goes in there, fucking kills him. That's a lawsuit, right? So, like, the same would apply to Miz and Morrison attacking him. So, like, I don't know, because he's, like, a guest and he's a civilian. He's not a wrestler. I don't know, whatever. So, but yeah, man, that I was fine with that. It made sense that Miz and Morrison would attack him. Then we had a Rhea Ripley interview during Asuka and Rhea's entrance from earlier today, where she's asked, "Yo, Rhea, how are you gonna coexist though?" Because that's the first time they've done that in a year, you know what I mean? They use it so sporadically. It's not the fourth or fifth time they've done it within 30 days. Not a chance, man. She says that tonight they're going to have to coexist to win, because if they don't, they're going to lose. Asuka has to wait for her payback at WrestleMania. Then we have Asuka and Rhea Ripley versus Shayna and Naya in a tag match. Can they coexist? They announced that there's going to be a tag team turmoil #1 contender match on the first night of Mania to determine who faces Shayna and Naya at Mania Night 2 for the tag titles. It's Riot Squad who should win both matches. It's Tamina and Natty who should not win, but I fear will. It's Mandy and Dana, and then it's Lana and Naomi. You know what I mean? So, yeah. But anyways, Asuka starts the match, and then Rhea Ripley was playing mind games kind of throughout the match with, like, tagging in and out. Like, Asuka would be like, yo, tag in, dog. Get in here and do some work. And she'd be like, no, I'm good. And then, like, 10 seconds, 20 seconds would go by, and Asuka's like, okay. And then Rhea's like, okay, I'll tag in now on my schedule. Rhea would randomly tag out by like bopping on, by boopity boppeting Asuka's forehead, like, hey, that's the tag, go in there, do the match. So I liked that from Rhea because it made sense for her character. Then near the end of the match, Rhea Ripley, while Asuka is on the top turnbuckle, kind of pushes her down to ringside, does what a maneuver on the outside, throws her into a knee by Shayna, who pins Asuka 1, 2, 3, and gets the win for Shayna and Naya. Now, you could look at it two ways. You could look at this as awful, and you could look at this as it happened. So it's not good, but there's basically... So the one way you could look at this is the tag team champions needed to win, couldn't win clean against people who weren't a real tag team, so it makes them look weak in victory, which might be the intention because maybe they're ready to take the tag titles off them at MANIA. I don't know, but whatever. You have the tag champions who can't win the match clean against a non-tag team, so there's that's a negative. You have Rhea Ripley herself losing her first match on Raw as a result of costing her partner, so that's a loss for Rhea Ripley. And you have Asuka being pinned, your women's champion being pinned, after what's been an awfully booked women's title run. You have three negatives that you can look at. On the flip side, you can look at it from the tag team champions won, which keeps them strong. Rhea looks strong because she essentially beat Asuka by not beating her. And then Asuka is protected in loss because it's not a clean loss, it's a backstabbing loss. You know what I mean? So if you look at it from that perspective, then it's not awful, it's just meh. You know what I mean? But then if you look at it from the more cynical perspective, it's really shit. And it just depends on how other viewers really will perceive it, because it's one that I can see going both ways. You know what I mean? Because when I first saw it, I'm like, and then when I thought about it, I'm like, oh, and then when I'm like, yeah, but I mean, like, my first reaction was just the so like maybe everybody else's first reaction was just the and if the hardcore fans, reaction is just the casual fans are probably going to be like, yay, television. Because when we are like, that's okay, casual fans are like, oh, okay, that's good. And when we're like, oh, that's really good, then the casual fans are like, that's incredible. You know what I mean? I feel like there's a little bit of a disconnect in opinions. Like, we have more harsh standings, the hardcore wrestling fans, right? So like, casual fans might not have cared too much about it. Hardcore fans probably will have cared more about it. So I'm going to give them a pass because Rhea Ripley was fucking derailed so bad last year that if this leads to a Rhea Ripley title win and then a subsequent good run, the ends justified the means. That's what I'm going to say. If they don't give the title to Rhea Ripley on Saturday, I think they have their match. If they don't give the title to Rhea Ripley, or if they give the title to Rhea Ripley and she has a similar run to Asuka where she just loses a bunch of matches, doesn't defend the title, then fuck all of it. But yeah, it is what it is. I'll give it a begrudging pass on the assumption and hope that they will pull the trigger with Rhea Ripley, give her the title that she should have defended last year successfully, but Vinnie Mac and blondes. So yeah, man, that's fine. Then we go to backstage with MVP standing backstage. Cedric pulls him aside. Shelton's also there. Cedric, holds MVP by like the by the suit jacket up against the wall, and he's like, hey, your greed's gonna cost you. You had the audacity to call us an embarrassment last week, but you're a parasite. You're gonna leech from Lashley until there's nothing left, and then you're gonna dump him to the side, blah blah blah. And you know what, tonight I may not beat Lashley, but I will give him a scar to remember me by, kind of thing, and I can't wait to watch Drew beat his ass at WrestleMania. Shelton then fixes his suit and says, stay your crippled ass. Stay your crippled ass out of here? Something like that. I don't know. I can't read my own writing. Anyways, then an interviewer comes by and is like, after you just heard that, are you worried about Bobby Lashley? He's like, never. I'm never worried about Bobby Lashley, but I am disappointed at how ungrateful those two are. Their success was because of me. Where were they before me? Blah, blah, blah. Lashley comes by. He's like, bro, what happened? MVP's like, nothing. Don't worry about it. And he's like, I'm going to beat his ass. I'm going to break his ass in half. Then we had a Shayna and Naya interview backstage where they were asked if they were confident that they can defend their tag titles. They're like, wow, that's a stupid question. Why would you even ask that? And then Lana and Naomi's like, yo, I can think of a couple reasons why they would ask that. And then Dana and Mandy were like, oh yeah, we can think of some reasons. And then Natalya and Tamina were like, hey. And then Riot Squad were like, hey. And then Billy popped in with her resume. She was like, hey. And they're like, brother, you don't have a tag team partner. Or sister, you don't have a tag team partner. She's like, yo, I mean, Carmelo's got my resume, though. And then the champions are like, listen, your match, one of you gets the shot. So you guys have to deal with that before you even get to us. So you guys got to sort it out amongst yourselves. They leave, and then the rest of the tag teams kind of like are half on one side, half on the other side, and they're just kind of like side-eyed, stare down, pose down kind of thing, and bickering pretty much to end the segment. So, yeah. By the way, just want to quickly mention this right now because I am very miffed by it, to say the least. Okay. The SmackDown Tag Team title match that features Gable, who's fantastic, Rude and Ziggler, the Dirty Dogs, who are fantastic, Profits, who are fantastic, and Ray and Dom, who will likely win them so they could win them in front of fans, which would be an incredible moment. That got relegated to SmackDown. But we have a number one contenders match on night one and then a title defense on night two for titles that are dead. I'm just spitballing here, but, how about on SmackDown, you have the women's number one contender tag team Turmoil instead, and then on night one, or no, let's say night two, keep the the women's tag titles on night two, and then on night one, Ray and Dom could win the titles to open the show. Holy shit. Actually, you know what? The people who's going to open the show, I think, is Bianca and Sasha, because I think they confirmed that Lashley and Drew was the main event of night one, which is unfortunate. In terms of build, like, it's been built better than Bianca and Sasha, but Bianca and Sasha is a more intriguing matchup. I think it's more culturally significant, and above all, it's the Rumble winner. Granted, WWE don't give a fuck about the Rumble winner main eventing anymore. They haven't since like the 2000s, but still, you know what I mean? So, yeah, but I just like, how are you giving a dead tag title 2 nights when Ray and Dom are going to have to win the titles with nobody there? Unless they don't put the titles on Ray and Dom and they hold it off for another, but like, brother, like, come on, man. Also, that means that whoever wins night one will get a double Mania payday, I'd assume, and none of the guys on SmackDown in the Battle Royal or in the tag match get a single Mania payday. Somebody gets a double, but yeah, you know what I mean? Like, all of them get WrestleMania paydays if you just do it a different way. You know what I mean? Like, actually, no, that's not true because the winner would be on. But still, I don't know. It's just Ray and Dom winning the title should be in front of fans. I feel like that's what they're going to do. And it's just 2 matches for some dead titles. Come on, man. Anyways, Lashley still has his pre-entrance presentation thing, which is awesome. Which reminds me, not directly, but indirectly, this Go Home show was awful for like pacing and production, because I feel like half the show in 3 hours, I feel like legitimately 1 hour and a half was commercials and video packages. And I don't mean Lashley's video package. I mean Shane and Braun video package. There was no Fiend and Alexis stuff and Randy stuff this week, at least not when I was watching. Maybe it was part of the first 15 minutes that I missed. But they did show a video package hyping the match. There was a point in the show where they I think it was ridiculous, man. They did an entrance, and then I think they did entrances. Then it was, hold on, I'm trying to remember. I think they went to commercial, they came back, they showed a video package, then they went to commercial again, they came back, they did like 2 entrances, and then they went to commercial again, I feel like. There was like a stretch in time where it was like 20 or 30 minutes between matches, and it's like, or promo segment, it's like, brother, I know it's the go home. I know that you guys don't have any ideas because you don't hire wrestling fans to write your shows. You hire fucking TV executives and shit like that who don't know a fucking thing about wrestling. Like, I get it, but fucking do a better job than just, oh, here's some fucking hype packages and a lot of commercials. Give us money, USA. Like, there were fucking banner advertisements. There were so many product placements. Like, brother, you guys reported fucking record profits last year. You don't need to do this on your fucking go home, man. It's not necessary. There was just so much fucking time in the show where it was like, oh, okay, well, like 10% of the show just went by and literally nothing progressed. Like that's not a good thing, man. You got to use your TV time, man. But anyways, I digress. We have Lashley versus Cedric. Shelton and Cedric jump Lashley before the bell rings. MVP's on commentary. They attack Lashley for a bit, but he fends them off, throws Shelton out of the ring, and then the match officially starts. Even in my notes, I didn't even read this yet, but in my notes I wrote there have been lots, capitals, of commercials tonight. So there you go. Shelton Benjamin near the end of the match was asking Lashley to stop, beating up Cedric. He's like, oh, you want me to stop? Watch this. And he shot him off the ropes and did that like one-handed like spine buster bomb slam thing that he does where he gets them like really fucking high up and just brings them crashing down like it hurts inside. Dun, 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 dun. And then he put in the hurt lock for the win, and then Shelton kind of tried to ambush him after, but he's like, nah, and then put the hurt lock on Shelton Benjamin. I hope to fuck this is like some sort of elaborate ruse, and they get back together post-Mania, and they find a way to be like, hey, we're not here to... The thing is, they're banned from ringside, so you can't even do that. You know what I mean? Unless, I don't know. It's an awful decision if it is. If it's not a ruse, awful decision. Awful decision if it's not a ruse. Then we had a Bad Bunny and Priest. The match itself was good. I mean, Lashley and Cedric were good. Lashley looks strong. He gets the win, which is the right call. Breaking up the Hurt Business is not the right call. I will reiterate. And I think I've said it like maybe 50 times this episode already. And it's because it's such a bad fucking decision that I feel like people really need to say it over and over and over again until that fucking old man, senile, out of touch piece of shit back there fucking realizes what he's doing, what a mistake he's making. Because the Hurt Business is great. If it's an elaborate ruse and they get back together, then congratulations. I got worked, brother. You did a good job. I got heated. You worked me. But if it's actually them just ending the Hurt Business this early when they've got so much more legs to stand on and so much more time that you could, get out of it and so much more elevation of the characters involved, you could have added another member to Hurt Business to go for the mid-card title. You could have added a woman to the Hurt Business to go for the women's title, and then the Hurt Business could have literally ran Raw. World Champion Lashley, mid-card champion, US champion, let's say Keith Lee because he's not doing anything, or let's say Ricochet, or let's say somebody else I can't think of right now. Maybe put Apollo onto Raw and then give him the Intercontinental or US title over there. Tag titles, Cedric and Shelton. And then, of course, women's champion, you could give to Naomi because she's not really doing anything except for teaming with Lana, which, let's be honest, not trying to be harsh on Lana because she is improving. Fair play to her. She's definitely improving. What does teaming with Lana do for Naomi? Really, you know what I mean? And again, this is, I mentioned it about Braun. This is coming from somebody who's not a big Naomi fan. I appreciate how athletic she is. I think she's fun to watch because she has some really cool moves that she does. But full package wise, I really don't get what a lot of people think. And they're like, oh, women's champion for a year. Yes, give her a year-long title. I'm like, maybe a transitional champ. Maybe hey, you've been working hard, here's a short run, in my opinion. But you know what I mean? So, like, I'm not one of the guys who's like, oh, shit, Naomi's the best in the division. But, like, turn her heel and align her with the Hurt Business, and maybe she could be. How many people have you seen in wrestling where they're a babyface and you're like, oh, that's awful, and then they turn heel and they become the biggest star in the business? The Rock. Right? So, like, you know what I mean? Granted, I think Naomi's been heel before, so I don't think we'll see, like, her become the Rock, the female Rock. But you get my point? Yeah, I hope so. I don't know. Maybe I don't have one because I am kind of retarded. But anyways, let's keep it moving. Breaking up Hurt Business was awful. Then we had a Bad Bunny and Priest promo where Bad Bunny says that, I think Priest was talking here. He says that Miz and Morrison crossed the line. They're jealous of Bad Bunny, and Miz is so concerned with Bad Bunny that he couldn't hold the title for more than a week. Absolutely the right call, by the way. He says it's easy to beat on a man 2-on-1, so he says let's even the odds, make it a tag match. What do you say? Bad Bunny then cut a promo better than like half the roster could probably cut, and it's not even in his first language. Granted, he switched to Spanish for a little bit. He says that, I just hit my mic, excuse me. He said he came here following his dreams. He respects and loves this business. He used to watch everything with his dad, with his uncles, with his cousins, with his brothers, whatever, with his whole family, and he has lots of good memories in the WWE. But now he doesn't know how to feel after this experience. He came to do a performance, do his job. He's happy that he could do his performance at the Royal Rumble, singing the song that he made for Booker T because he loves and respects Booker T. Like he loves Triple H, like he loves Stone Cold, like he loves all these legends, and he even used to love and respect Miz. But Miz didn't respect him. He disrespected everything about him for no reason. Then he switched to Spanish, so I don't really know what he said. And then he switched back to English when he said there was no reason to attack him with a guitar. There's no reason to paint his Bugatti. Miz, who do you think you are? Yes, Grand Slam champion. Yes, you're a legend. I respect you. But you don't respect me, and I don't know why, and I don't care. Because at WrestleMania, I'm going to show you how to respect me. I'm going to whoop your ass and shut your mouth. Miz and Morrison get on the screen and they sarcastically clap. They're like, hey, you don't belong here. This is our world. We're going to embarrass you and send you home. They accept the tag team match. Then they leave in like a limousine. Not like a traditional limo that's like the low limo, but like kind of like the more boxy limo thing. I don't know cars, so I don't fucking know, but still. Yeah, man. Priest's part of the promo was good. His delivery was good because he was pissed off and kind of like straight to the point because he was sick of it kind of thing. Bad Bunny, in his second language, cut a promo that had passion that, he did like he cut a better promo than a lot of people on the roster can cut in their native language. I think that says a lot, right? So, and they changed it to a tag match. I saw people on Twitter being like, oh man, look at these guys, man. They actually thought he could do a singles match. And 5 days before this show, they're like, oh, let's change our mind. The show was taped last week. The plan was a tag team match all along, evidently. Well, actually, the report was that the plan was a tag match. Then Morrison and Priest had little injuries, so they changed it to singles in case. And then they eventually changed it to a tag. I don't know if that was maybe misinformation. I don't know if that was partly true, partly not true. I don't really know. But it would make sense if the plan was announce it as a singles, have them, outnumber him backstage. And then Priest is like, okay, you know what? I was going to let him fight his own battles, but there's two of you. That's not fair. Get me in there and I'll help him out. And it's going to be an even playing ground kind of thing. So, yeah, man. I liked it. I liked Bad Bunny's promo. I like Miz and Morrison's response. I like Priest's part of the promo. And I'm excited for Priest to get a big Mania win. I think they have a lot of potential in a guy like Priest. I think his look is good. I think he's good in the ring. I think he cuts a promo well. I think his voice helps his promos too, because it's like a deep, not raspy, but it's like kind of like a deeper voice. So like he can sound menacing if they turn him heel, and he can sound intimidating as a face too. So, he has the look, he has the promos so far, he has, the character stuff and like the presentation with the entrance and all that shit, and he can wrestle really well. So I think they have a potential star on their hands with Priest. So him not only getting a casual fan audience behind him through Bad Bunny and more eyes on him through Bad Bunny, him getting a Mania win with Bad Bunny will do huge things for Priest, which I think a lot of people are overlooking when they shit talk Bad Bunny on Twitter, when they're like, oh, this guy's a music star and he has a match at Mania, blah, blah, blah. He got Priest a match at Mania. Do you think Priest would have been on Mania without this Bad Bunny stuff? He probably wouldn't have been called up without this Bad Bunny stuff. Bad Bunny is helping in the early stages of making a potential star on the roster. You got to look at it sometimes, with a wider lens when you critique stuff. Because, like, y'all know me. If I see something I don't like, I shit on it. I don't hold back, right? I don't really give a fuck about, pissing people off that may watch it. Nobody from WWE watches my shit, but if they do, and even if I'm their fan and they're part of a segment that sucked, I'm going to say it sucked because it sucked in my opinion. I'm not going to hold back my opinions, right? But I think a lot of people look for reasons to shit on WWE without actually taking in the full picture sometimes. Because sometimes it's easy to see something and be like, let me find what's wrong with that and like create things that are wrong, right? Because people are going to come in and be like, oh, celebrities at Mania. Look at all these guys who missed a spot on Mania for this celebrity. He literally created 3 spots on Mania for Miz, for Morrison, and for Priest. And it's going to be a win for Priest, which is going to set his career off. And it's exposure for Priest, a new star that they're trying to build. You know what I mean? It's not like he has a singles match against somebody who was going to be booked anyways. If it was Bad Bunny versus fucking Roman Reigns, for example, then yeah, Bad Bunny's stealing a spot because Roman was going to have a spot on the card regardless, so he's not giving anybody a spot, and he's just taking Roman's opponent's spot, right? That makes sense. Then you'd get mad. But if he is there, he's creating 3 spots on the card for Miz, Morrison, and Priest. Miz and Morrison, would they have been on the card without Bad Bunny? Who knows? Maybe. I don't think so. They weren't really being booked to do much up until then. Priest wasn't even on the main roster before then. You know what I mean? He had a good Rumble performance, so I don't know if they were going to promote him after that or if it was just that, and then after Mania they were going to promote him, but then the Bad Bunny situation presented itself and they're like, fuck it, let's go. You know what I mean? So I just think that, yes, there's a lot of shit to complain about from WWE. I don't think this Bad Bunny stuff is one of them, honestly. It's giving 3 wrestlers a spot on the card that they might not have had without Bad Bunny, and it's helping make a new star. And he cut a good promo, man. He cuts a good promo. He cuts a better promo than half the fucking roster, dude. And they do that for a living. He makes music. You know what I mean? So obviously he's good with words because he has to create music and all that stuff. But like, I don't know. And he creates music in Spanish though. Anyways, I see so many people every week shitting on Bad Bunny. They're like, oh, get this guy out of here. He's taking people's spots. He's creating spots. He's getting eyes on a new talent in Priest. You know what I mean? If it was just Bad Bunny and it was like just Miz, even at that point you could be like, oh, okay, whatever. But it's the whole thing. So I don't know. I don't see a problem with it. But anyways, we had Sheamus and Ali backstage. It was announced earlier that Ali would be facing Riddle. Sheamus pulls him aside backstage to try and get him to like go hard on him, I guess. And then Ali's like, listen, man, Riddle is everything I want to change about this company, okay? He's the reason Retribution is dead. He's the reason I don't have the US Championship, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, I'm going to go beat him in the ring. Sheamus is like, listen, man, you and I don't have much in common, but what we do have in common is our hatred for Riddle. I'm going to be rooting for you, Ali, and I'm not just going to do it back here. I'm going to do it ringside on commentary. Then Riddle zooms past on his scooter because his gimmick is being a stoner. I would just like to remind you guys how prestigious the United States Championship is. Guys like Harley Race, guys like Eddie Guerrero, guys like Steven Richards. Just some absolute legends of this industry have held that title. And I'm not saying Riddle overall isn't deserving of it, but this, yo, I get so high, dude. Yo, I'm hungry. Isn't that funny? I get high, bro. Come on. It got old a long time ago. Get the title off him at Mania. Anyways, and I feel bad saying that because in the ring, Riddle can turn it on, be a serious character in the ring, and just get it done. But them leaning too much into the, I smoke weed, bro. Why? You're doing Matt Riddle a disservice there. Because Matt Riddle, when he's the way they had him in NXT, when he would sometimes throw it in for like a pop, and that was just like something he did occasionally for a pop, that was good. Because overall he was like, hey, I'm here. I'm taking it easy. I'm easygoing. I'm, bubbly, I guess. A little bit of the bubbly. But you know what I mean? Like him just being like, hey, I'm going to chill. I'm pretty easygoing, but when we get in that ring, I'm going to kill you. And maybe once a month I'll throw in a actually clever, actually funny, like stoner joke. Then on the main roster, they're like, okay, every promo, every week, 2-3 times a week, you're going to talk about how high you get and you're going to make innuendo to it and you're going to drive by on a scooter and you're going to act like nothing matters and all this shit. And it's like, bro, that's Matt Riddle, man. He's a good wrestler. You know what I mean? But anyways, then we had Ali versus Riddle, which was a very good match. Sheamus was on commentary and Riddle wins clean. So right person won. As much as I don't like stoner Riddle being what Riddle is doing and him being the US champion, before their match at Mania, Riddle should be winning clean against Ali. So very good match. Showcased Ali's talents, showcased Riddle's talents in the ring, and gets Riddle a win going in. This is a case where I hope they do the 50-50 booking of look strong on the go home, lose on the pay-per-view, because I think Sheamus should win that title. Not only because I think Riddle is underwhelming as US champion, but because Sheamus has had a fucking fantastic fucking COVID year. He's had a fantastic pandemic run, brother. Great matches over and over. He got elevated into the main event somewhat with the Drew stuff, and it didn't even feel forced because they had him win these big matches, and he felt like a big deal because he was performing so well every week and stuff like that. So, I think he deserves a U.S. title run, whether it be a short one, whether it be a long one. I don't know. There are other people on the roster that I would like to push, if I was, in charge, so to speak, but like, I think Sheamus deserves a, hey, good job. You killed it this year. Here's the U.S. title, right? I think that would be a good thing to do. Then we had a Drew backstage interview where he was asked if he was worried about Corbin taking up Lashley's offer. He says, listen, Corbin, it's a bad idea coming at Drew McIntyre before Mania, but he basically says he's going to beat Corbin on the way to regaining the championship and giving Lashley an almighty ass whooping at Mania. Lashley then, during Corbin's entrance for Drew versus Corbin, is interviewed asking who he'd prefer, and he said, if Drew makes it to Mania, I'd love to beat Drew's ass. He said he'd give me an almighty ass whooping. It's going to be hard to do that after I put his ass to sleep with the Hurt Lock. Then we had Drew versus Corbin in a match that I really enjoyed. I feel like it's a match that's a little bit out of place in modern wrestling just because a lot of what modern wrestling fans want is work rate, indie, slap thigh, spot, no rest spot, spot, jump, dive, high pace, whatever, sell, take years off your career, bada boom, all the moves in the world, finish, false, you know what I mean? That's kind of what's been come to expect. And I know I sound like a fucking, like a Cornette guy or like a fucking old head when I'm like, oh, my era was the best. But I genuinely do think my era was the best that I grew up in, that I started watching wrestling in, because I was the Ruthless Aggression era. And I'm saying this based on my beliefs of wrestling, because the Attitude Era, I've started watching it recently because I finally was able to get the network. I started watching it post Survivor Series 97, the screw job, right? So November 15th, I think, was the Raw that I started at. I'm watching every week's Raw back to back, basically when I have free time, whatever. In terms of promos and segments and stuff like that, it's great. Well, not yet. There's some highlights. In terms of matches, every match is like a DQ finish, a screwy finish, a non-finish, an interference, a this or that. Because there's no clean finishes. The matches don't go longer than like 5 minutes. It's like, you know what I mean? So in terms of like promos and stuff, and I'm not even at the peak of the Attitude Era, right? I'm at 97. I'm at the start of it. I'm assuming 98, 99 is going to be really, really good for promos and moments and stuff like that. But I'm assuming the matches are going to be the same. Lots of non-finishes, lots of, DQs, lots of this, lots of that. And I don't really like that. I think it has its place to advance feuds, but if every single match, even for those like lower card feuds, has that, and if every single match that night ends in a run-in, DQ, whatever, who cares? I think nowadays it's very exciting to watch, but it's missing in-ring psychology, which I'm a big fan of, and I just think that the Ruthless Aggression Era was perfect because the wrestling was more high-paced than the 80s, right, with the garbage wrestling, really, let's be honest. The 90s, which was, more character-driven and stuff, which, fair play. It was the most successful they've been commercially or, culturally ever, so fair play. You got the casual fans. That was the highest peak of casual viewership, right? Because the hardcore fans are going to watch no matter what, right? You know what I mean? So, like, the casual fans are what caused the dips, really. The dips and the peaks and stuff like that. The hardcore fans are the underlying, just like consistent, perpetual line of, hey, we're going to watch because we love wrestling. And even if you're giving us garbage product, we love wrestling enough that we'll suffer through it in the hopes of a bright spot here and there, right? Which is what Raw is, really. Anyways, so I lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah. I really like Drew and Corbin because it was one of those more slow matches, more hard-hitting matches, the more psychology-driven match that I am a fan of personally from the Ruthless Aggression era. So I really liked it. I thought it was a great match. Drew obviously wins. But what happens is Lashley's watching backstage, by the way, and MVP's on commentary again. So MVP near the end of the match goes up to Corbin. He gets out because Corbin's in the corner. He's like, listen, we didn't say you had to win the match. We said you had to take him out. He hands Corbin his cane. Corbin gets the cane, swings for Drew. Drew ducks under, hits the ropes. Boom, Claymore, uno, dos, tres. Drew wins on the way to MANIA. And then Lashley comes out and they do a stare down with Lashley at the top of the ramp at the stage to Drew in the ring. And yeah, that's the show. So it's an interesting one for Lashley and Drew because both looked strong on the go home. So you can't have that WWE logic of, oh, you lost on the go home. Congrats on your win on Sunday. You know what I mean? Because with Riddle, he won tonight. Probably going to lose on Sunday. New Day won tonight, absolutely going to lose on Saturday or Sunday, whatever it is. You know what I mean? So with both of them winning, you kind of eliminate that confirmation, or at least supposed confirmation. Speaking of the U.S. title real quick, just real quick, the fact that they couldn't get Jeff Hardy involved in some capacity to make it a triple threat, or they could have done a fatal four with Ali and Jeff involved. The whole reports about Jeff, which he said himself, was they're bringing back No More Words, but they're waiting for fans. Hey, WWE, there's fans at WrestleMania. put Jeff Hardy on the card so we can hear no more words. He doesn't have to win. You know what I mean? But anyways. Yeah, so I unfortunately I do think that Drew is going to win so he can get his win in front of the crowd, but quite honestly, I feel like he might get booed if he wins. Because people love Lashley, man. Even though he's a heel, like the Hurt Business is just so was R.I.P. in peace, awful decision, Vince, you old out of touch piece of shit. A little bit harsh, but deserved in this case because the Hurt Business is like the only good thing on Raw consistently. It's been the best thing on Raw throughout the pandemic. The only thing better in the company has probably been, definitely has been Roman because his heel run has been the best thing in the company since it happened. After that, it's probably Hurt Business. Then after that, it's probably Sami Zayn just being a fucking gem of a human being. But that might be a little bit biased. But like Roman and then Hurt Business, those are the two best things. Right? And it's like, brother, just let Lashley go, man. Just pull the trigger fully. Just let him go. Let him hold the title for fucking a year. I don't give a fuck. Let him fucking beat Brock at fucking SummerSlam. Call Brock up, be like, hey, Brock, you and Bobby Lashley beat the shit out of each other 20 minutes. We'll pay you $1 million. What do you say? You know what I mean? Like if you, I think it was Brian who had a interview recently where he said like, you know, a lot of people get a misconception about Brock that he doesn't care about wrestling, but when the right thing is put in front of him, his eyes light up with passion. Yeah, I think it was Brian who said that. So like, are you going to sit here and tell me that you think Brock wouldn't fucking just like, if you're Brock Lesnar and somebody says, hey, you and Lashley beating the fuck out of each other for 20 minutes and we'll pay you a shit ton of money, 6 figures or 7 figures. Why wouldn't he accept? For one show too, or maybe 2 shows, or maybe they tape all of his segments for like a month's worth of TV on one show. Then he flies out for the pay-per-view and then boom, you're good to go. Like, I don't know. Anyways, that's all stuff that I'll discuss more in detail, more in my thoughts in my prediction video that I'll post on the Saturday morning/afternoon, I guess, before the Saturday part of Mania starts in the evening. So yeah, I'll go more into predictions and what I would like to see and what I think I'll see and all that shit in that predictions video that will come out at the end of the week before Mania starts on Saturday. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. But anyways, that is the Raw review. Apologies for my Ruthless Aggression Era is the GOAT rant at the end of that, talking about Drew and Corbin there, but it is. So yeah, man, that's the Raw review. Overall, I think I'd give it maybe like a 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10. Like, it wasn't good. It just wasn't awful like the previous week's Raw. I think it's just, you know what I mean? Okay. In terms of the programming that they had, in terms of what they did for the rivalries and the matches, I'll give it a 6. But the fact that half the show was commercials and video packages and just bullshit that wasn't actually show, I'll put it down to a 5. I'll do a 5 for this week's Raw, in my opinion. Yeah, man, let me know what you guys thought of Raw down in the comments below. Do you agree with my 5 out of 10? Do you think it was higher? Do you think it was lower? Let me know. Do you guys agree or disagree with some of my statements? Let me know down in the comments. It's always nice to see, or to read, I guess, your guys' opinions. It's always nice to see differing opinions in wrestling because, you know, there's a lot of them, so it's always cool to see them. So, yeah, man, that's the review, though. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you would like to check out some of the other shit I do on the channel, I do primarily gameplay stuff. You want to go check that out. One of them primarily being my 2006 GM mode, and all of my GM modes, really, where I book my own storyline. So, after hearing me shit on wrestling for an hour, you can go see how I book wrestling, and then shit on me booking wrestling in the comments, if you'd like to. Or praise how I book wrestling in the comments, if you'd like to. So, yeah, that's up there. If you'd like to join the Discord server for the channel, we do watch-alongs for the pay-per-views. So Saturday and Sunday for Mania, I'll be in the Discord along with other members of the Discord, and then we just chat in a voice chat while we watch Mania separately, and it's a good old time. So if you'd like to join in on that, plus just, you know, text not text, I guess, but like, you know, talk through chat and typing and stuff like that on other days with me and other members of the community and the fan base and stuff like that. Link in the description to the Discord. My Twitter is also in the description if you'd like to follow me. Please sponsor me, Peasty. Of course, gotta plug that sponsorship gimmick, brother. Gotta get it in there. Be sure to turn on notifications so you never miss an episode, because YouTube likes to zuck your boy. And I'll put my videos on your sub boxes. So by pressing the nice old bell icon, you will get a push notification anytime I do upload, and you'll never have to miss it. And yeah, man, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, share it to all your friends, comment down below, all that good shit. And I'll see you guys next time.